this is where you take over with your story. Your crown.
College essay time.
It's your time to shine.
This is where my kindling fire was lit because of her. So she came back from it's on fire! Anyway, she came back from her first ever IkiCon, dressed as Trezzy, gray paint falling off, horns gone, glasses off, taking a shower. And she was like telling me all these stories about how IkiCon went and how she was on a social high and how you licked so many people because for Teresi.
This was before COVID.
Yes.
I licked people.
And this was consensual.
Consensually.
Yes.
I asked permission.
She would be like, there was a specific moment where you were like dressed as Teresi and you were taking photos and there were like Teresi and Dave and there was a mass flood of Dave cosplayers and you were like, who wants me to lick them? And it was great. And you told me that story and I was like, wow, this sounds so cool. And so the next con that she went to, I tagged along.
It was RealmsCon, right?
And it was RealmsCon in Corpus Christi, near the beach.
Remember that time I said I went to the Renaissance Festival as Teresi? There was a girl there who was like, oh my god, your Teresi's so good, you need to be in our Dangin' Stuck panel. Dangin' Stuck panel. I didn't know Danganronpa. This was before the other, like, season. There's literally just one season of the anime and the one game at the time. There was nothing else. And it was Homestuck characters in the Danganronpa universe. And so I had agreed to be in that panel, but that was RealmsCon, and that takes place in like October-ish. And so she got me in November of one year. We had to wait an entire year before going to that con. But you at IkiCon decided you wanted to start doing this with me, and we had at that point scheduled RealmsCon, and we were gonna go to RealmsCon. So that was our next thing on the list.
Anyway.
Sorry.
And I was like, whoa. And then, so we both went to RealmsCon, and I decided my first Homestuck cosplay was, it was Nepeta, and it was so bad.
Oh, you're right. Because between IkiCon and RealmsCon, there was another 413.
Yeah.
And you went as Nepeta.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about that.
And she went as Teresi,
And I went as Grimbark Jade.
oh yeah, and we had gray paint that was way too dark.
We put black face paint on our faces. I think it was water-based black face paint, and then we had cream-based white paint, and we rubbed the white on top of the black like it was lotion.
We did?
That's what I remember doing.
I thought we had like the bullshit silver gray paint, or silver paint.
I did use the silver paint for Teresi once.
Yeah.
But I don't think I used it in that instance.
Yeah, me neither. Anyway, we were way too dark. And
Way too dark.
I specifically remember there was like one picture of my Nepeta where I'm like this, and it haunts my dreams so bad. But anyway, I still had a pretty fun time at the 413 meetup, but it wasn't like revolutionary. You know, I don't like specifically remember.
It was hot.
It was really hot.
Bitches went swimming. We were great. We couldn't go swimming.
But I remember going to RealmsCon, and for that one, we were dressed as Teresi and Pfeffery. And I tried out Pfeffery for the first time, and we had better face paint, and I covered my whole body in it, because Pfeffery wears like a leotard and a skirt, and that's it. So I covered my whole body.
You had tights.
Oh yeah, I had tights. My upper body.
Yeah.
And I actually had a wig for that, so I was happy about that. And I remember, did I have a wig at that point? I know, I think that was when you did the Manic Panic, I think.
It doesn't matter. The
Anyway.
point is we were very slowly getting better.
Yeah.
Very slowly.
Very, very much.
Yep.
Yeah, like that. Anyway.
There was a weird little spike there at one point. Pfeffery, whole upper body in gray paint. Actual wig.
I did that con so vividly because there were so many good parts. I remember a fucking calliope giving us lollipops, and I at one point took the lollipop out and I spat out a tooth, and I was like, huh, calliope gave me a lollipop with a tooth in it, and then I realized that they didn't. It was just my baby tooth had fallen out because I was still like 12 at the time. But there was a different panel that was in a bigger room that had like a stage part, and that one was just like a choose your own adventure panel, right?
No,
it was a game panel.
It was a game panel.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the games was like Bachelor.
Yeah. Or it was weird.
Yeah, it was a game panel.
But for that one, it was a lot more laid back and relaxed, and they didn't have a pfeffery for that panel. And I specifically remember the host of the panel being like, "You want to be in the panel?" And I was like, "Okay." Having literally 0.2 knowledge of Homestuck and pfeffery as a character, and I was like, "Okay." And I got up on stage and I tried to be in character, and that consisted of me being, "Are you a fish?" like that, and doing splits. That was my character name.
Some things never change.
But anyway, I had so much fun at that panel, or that con specifically, and so I was like, we should go to another one. And so we went to more and more cons, and me and my sister kept cosplaying and improving our Feferi and Terezi cosplays. And I remember like the IkiCon after RealmsCon, we significantly improved.
Yeah.
Because you finally had a wig, I had arm socks, and
We fixed your
cup things.
horns.
We fixed my horns.
We fixed your skirt.
Yeah.
We got you like proper jewelry for Fairy.
Yeah. And yeah. Throughout most of this, my sister was the one making most of my outfits. Or sometimes she would be like, "I'm gonna teach you how to do this," and she would show me on the sewing machine, and I'd be like, "Okay," and then I would try it, and I would fuck up, and I'd be like, "Sissy, I fucked it up," and then she would fix it for me.
I learned how to sew because many a Halloween before the ones I've described to you, I walked up to my grandmother with a screenshot of the transformation sequence from Tokyo Mew Mew where the dress poofs into existence, and I was like, "Can you make me this for Halloween?" Because my grandmother had been the costumeist, costume creator, I don't know, for my parents' ballet company for a little while, and so I knew she was fully capable of,
Costume mistress.
I guess, fully capable of making something of that caliber. The only problem is I handed it to her like no more than 14 days before Halloween, and if you know what that outfit looks like, it's like decently complicated to create from scratch. And she's like, "What if I taught you how to make this?" And then I started having lessons with her, I think every Saturday, to learn how to sew. And then she died, but you know, such is life. And I inherited her sewing machine and a lot of her fabrics and various other things, and so I had all of these little pieces of her to learn with. And my brain is wiggly in such a way that I have a natural inclination for being able to work really well with 3D conceptualization in my head. But that was something that I always had a lot more patience for than you did.
Yes.
And I was not necessarily the best at explaining it, which is why for a long time a lot of your costumes were made by me. Do you remember the first costume that you made? I feel like it was Sapphire, wasn't it?
No, I think it was Pearl. It was like a really bad version of Pearl from Steven Universe.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you made Sapphire.
And then Sapphire.
And then you made the other Pearl outfit.
And Sapphire and the other Pearl were like a few years later, either a few or just like 1 year later, but they were significantly better than the other one.
But you were always more hyperfixated on Steven Universe than I was, and so you had this drive to create those costumes, whereas I very much didn't. So, you know, without me, you were like, "Let's go!"
day ask my sister how to make things. I'm like, am I doing this right? And she'll be like, no, you're stupid.
No, well, you know, the same thing kind of happened with you and makeup, because I got really good at sewing, but you got really, really good. We stopped doing Homestuck, and, you know, gray paint hides a lot. You don't need primer, you don't need foundation, you don't need color correction, you don't need concealer, you don't need contour. It's just gray. It's just gray. All you have to worry about is your eye makeup. Most of the time. Sometimes.
Lips.
So we left the Homestuck fandom and we were like, how the fuck are we supposed to look like people? And you figured it out a lot quicker than I did.
Messed around with mommy's makeup.
And so I'd be coming to you, I'd be like, what the hell is primer? And you're like, I don't know what this is, I learned it from my friend.
Me into cosplay.
Yeah.
You're so cool.
Yeah.
You're so cool.
Oh my god.
You're so fun.
I'm very good. Oh, I was gonna say, this is the part I'm forgetting. I was like, what am I forgetting? What am I forgetting? Well, the thing I'm forgetting is the fact that as we started to cosplay, one of the things that we did a lot was we were in Homestuck panels. And
oh, yeah.
And so if you're ever like, oh my god, these two are so naturally good at panels. No, we're not.
No, we're not.
We had to figure it out. There are so many bad Homestuck panels that we were in, bad Homestuck panels that I ran, bad Homestuck panels that I tried to run, had a freaking meltdown and gave to somebody else, like that one time.
There were some fairly good ones, but yeah. When we first started out doing panels, we were not good at being in character, especially me, because I had 0.2 knowledge of Homestuck.
We read through all of the character wikias on like the drive to cons, and that was how we like got in character.
Yep.
But then, you know, My Hero came around, which was also funny because I've noticed every single fandom I shift, there's a new cosplay aspect that I need to figure out. Like leaving Homestuck, I had to figure out how to do foundation. Leaving, you know, what was it? We did like Undertale and Steven Universe for a little while, and then like a couple other in between fandoms before we got into My Hero. And then by the time I got into My Hero, I was like, I need to figure out how armor works. I wasn't originally going to cosplay Bakugo's hero outfit. I was going to do Best Jeanist Bakugo because I didn't know how to style wigs and I didn't know how to make the armor. I'd never made armor before in my life, like ever. And so every new fandom we go into, there's a completely new skill that needs to be tackled. And so, you know, even though we'd gotten really good at Homestuck cosplay, my first and your first BNHA cosplays were a little rough around the edges. Don't scroll too far back on my TikTok. Don't stop. Don't do it. Simply do not. Because I don't delete anything because I believe...
You're weird.
Well, I believe in creating a foundation with which to build yourself up from and not cultivating a fake persona online. I try to be as authentic as possible, and so, you know, if you scroll back far enough on any of my social medias, you will see the beginning stages in which I didn't know what I was doing and I was fumbling around and I was failing.
If you scroll far enough back on my TikTok, you can also see the beginnings, but I went back several times to the beginning of my TikTok and deleted the ones that I thought were the most bad. So you can still see my beginning stages, but they're mostly the good ones. So, but yeah, we went to IkiCon, the first IkiCon that I ever went to, and we had such a blast. It was so much fun.
That is the thing, is every single part of our journey has like different firsts. Like the first time I ever like cosplayed, period. The first time I ever cosplayed knowing what cosplay was. The first time I ever cosplayed while putting effort into it. You know, the first time it was ever not like closet cosplay. The first time I ever cosplayed to a con. The first time we ever cosplayed to a con. It wasn't even like a full, we didn't go every single day. And so it was like the first time we went to a con all 3 days. And then it was the first time we went to a con by ourselves.
Out of city.
Yeah.
Yeah. Without our parents.
Without our parents. And the first time we ever had our own panel as opposed to being in someone else's. And So every single step of the way just has different firsts. And it's fun. It's fun, you know?
It's fun to see your progression.
Yeah.
And it's looking back at like the beginning stages is very hard because you look back and you're like, why do I look like that? Or why did I act like that? Or
Is it burnt? No, I think it's Nicole.
what?
That's a TikTok audio.
Is it burnt? Let me see.
It looks good.
Nicole.
Nicole. Nicole. But yeah.
Yeah.
And not to be sentimental, but like,
Not to be sentimental.
but sorry.
Your fucking tooth.
Not to be sentimental, but bites you.
Not to be sentimental.
I was trying really hard not to be sentimental, so I was gonna.
What was coming through your head? What?
I'm sorry. I was gonna talk about how doing this and going on this journey with you specifically has been so much more fun than it ever would have been doing it by myself, you know. Aww. And how the fact that we got to bond over this was phenomenal, because you're right, before all of this happened, we really didn't have anything in common. We didn't do anything together.
Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, the moral of the story is,
Don't give up.
don't give up.
We were terrible.
We were terrible.
We suck. We sucked. We still kind of suck.
We still kind of suck. Again, every single new fandom you fall into, you're gonna have new things that you've never effed with before. Cosplay is endlessly vast. There's always more angles to come at it from. And it is so much more fun if you do it with friends, and it is such a good environment to make. Bitch! It is such a good environment to make friends in. We have a lot of friends that we met and made at cons, and honestly now we have way more cosplay friends than we do friends who don't cosplay.
Yeah.
So
You don't cosplay? What's wrong with you?
if you don't cosplay, you're gonna.
Hey, put this on. Don't ask questions.
Anyway, join us next week. We won't have a video out next week. Join us next time
On SewinSisters channel. It's not hard to pronounce.
on SewinSisters Cosplay. It's sewing without the G. Is that gonna be our freaking tagline? We're tired of this. People mispronounce. We're tired of this. Anyway, it's sewing without the G. Stay spicy, Sewing Squad. Or don't. I don't control you.